Welcome to A Pinch of Basile. I am your host, Herb and Rosemary's son, Basil, and I am here with my wonderful co-host, Janice Hearn. How can we even do this show without the wonderful expertise of our chief engineer and rubber band master, Christian Meyer, who can do anything with a rubber band and a paper clip, and he is truly an unbelievable person. He used to do porn. You may have known him in such movies such as Shortcomings.
You got to stop now. You got to stop now.
I was about to say my name was MacGyver, but
yeah. I was liking the direction at first, but then I was like, "Whoa, hold on,
not so much." Okay,
let's stop
now. Don't forget, we stream live on Facebook. You can also listen on the TuneIn app on any phone or device. Once you have the app, just search America Matters. If you're on the computer, just go to americamatters.us, and we want to hear from you. Your comments, go to my Basil fans page. That's BASILEFANS. Check us out, like us, watch it, and then you can comment anytime on Facebook. And if you have any questions for our wonderful guests who will be coming up shortly, just call 844-790-8255. That's 844-790-8255. Or you can also text. And Janice, what is that magical text number?
That magical number is 775-237-2266. Text us now.
Text us now, and don't forget we can be heard all around the world, including on Greek Beat Radio.
Greek Beat Radio.
And you always ask, what are we doing with that high dollar for effects?
That's
well,
right.
There you go.
There you have it.
We have an awesome guest today. Marc Hoberman. He is the author and speaker. And I'm going to go right to the bio, ladies and gentlemen. Marc Hoberman is an educational consultant with expertise in overcoming teen illnesses and beating stress. With a master's degree in education, Marc has helped many teens and parents navigate through difficulties ranging from illnesses to academics and test anxiety. At the age of 16, Marc Hoberman moved from Yonkers to Yonkers, New York. I'm sure he's a great Yankees fan. To Hollywood, Florida. Moving away from his friends was hard enough, but being diagnosed with epilepsy shortly thereafter was even harder. Marc's sense of humor, support network, and successful search for a doctor who would save his life prompted him to make his private story public. Marc is used to facing adversity, and the current pandemic has created an instant turmoil for millions of people around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Marc shares some of the strategies that can be helpful to helped him overcome the challenges he's faced. And he's with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marc Hoberman. Marc, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Basil. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not a problem, man. Yankees fan, just got to know right off the bat.
Unfortunately, my father was a Tigers fan, big Al Kaline fan who passed away a while back. So when I went to Yankee games, it was only to see the Tigers.
Well, I'm an Indians fan, but I lived in Long Island, so, you know.
So we get a lot of ribbing.
Yeah, no, there's no two ways. But my second team has always been the Yanks. You know, no two ways about it. I tried the Mets one time, but when I found out they were mathematically out of it the first game into the season,
yeah,
I figured,
that was it.
I was done with it. You know, I really was. First of all, you got both of us asking questions because, you know, I know so many people with children who have things like test anxiety. I know what they go through. You know, the smartest kids in the world. They just get all bundled up and they don't know what to do. A couple of things I guess I have to ask. In your book, Adversity Defeated, you talk about living with epilepsy. And in one of the chapters describes the onset of an attack and how it really comes, I should say, out of nowhere. I guess it's a lot like the recent pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
Absolutely. So it came out of nowhere for me. I was in Yonkers, New York, popular, had a great upbringing, moved to Florida, had a seizure behind the wheel of my 1977 Ford Mustang, and started with a petite mal seizure and then turned into the grand mal seizure. And instead of stomping down on the brake, I stomped down during the seizure on the gas, which was not fun. Thank God my cousin was with me. And that came out of nowhere because 2 hours after that accident, I was sent home with medication called Dilantin and a diagnosis of epilepsy. And that absolutely came out of nowhere. Was not ready for that. Didn't even know what epilepsy was really.
Wow. And that's nothing beforehand, nothing at all. It just started to happen when you were 16.
At the age of 13, I had what we now know was a seizure, but I was downstairs in the basement of the apartment building. I never came back up. So they thought I fainted because the laundry room was too hot. Maybe I was hit on the head. Maybe I fell. They didn't know. but didn't have anything for 3.5, 4 years after that. When we moved to Florida, this happened, and we traced it back. But we later found out that an uncle of mine, actually my grandfather's uncle, my great uncle, had epilepsy. But before that, never knew, never heard, no clue whatsoever. It absolutely came out of nowhere. It was my pandemic.
Yeah, to say the least. And then to be thrown in that, and you were driving when it happened.
Right.
Jeez, oh man! Thank God you're alive, man. And it's got to be really, really tough. I mean, and we're gonna, we have a second break with you too because there's so many questions I have to ask. We have a cousin of ours who has epileptic seizures and has passed out so many times. He now has brain damage because he just hits his head and goes down. And psychological issues have happened, that he's had, and now unfortunately he has to live in a separate place, in a separate home, because the family just couldn't take care of him. And he really did nothing to really help himself either, which was another bad thing. Whatever medications were given to him, he never really followed through with taking those medications. Is there anything that you take now, and we still have about a minute left right now, but is there anything that you take now to help control your epilepsy?
Oh, I was always tremendously controlled, first with valproic acid, Depakote, and now with Keppra. And I only found out afterwards and joined Facebook epilepsy groups to find out how many people had epilepsy so much worse than mine. 50 seizures a day, 10 seizures a day, infants, kids who were 10 years old, people who need service dogs. And I was almost always phenomenally controlled. As a teenager, not. But when I moved back to Manhattan, back to New York, and I found a doctor in Manhattan, he gave me a medication that controlled me, and that I was very lucky, because you talk about not taking care of yourself, and that's part of my overcoming adversity is know your enemy. And I did so much research on the epilepsy as a teen before the internet, and that was what really turned the course for me also. But absolutely, I've been blessed in that I've been very well controlled.
Well, we're going to get back to you. Thanks so much, Mark. We're going to have more questions for you the second half. We got to get back. We got to do that little thing. It's called sponsors. We'll be right back with more of A Pinch of Basile after these messages.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Now back to the show.
Oh, we are indeed back with A Pinch of Basile with my wonderful guest, Marc Hoberman. Mark, we've been talking about adversity, plenty of that going around, and thanks for being with us. I want to do a little bit of a follow-up question with you. You talked about uncertainty, and what advice would you give to the millions of people that are dealing with this right now?
Well, you have to have a good support network, but I'm always a big believer in you have to be the main part, the linchpin of that support network. So, cliche phrases like keep your head in the game and things like that aren't enough now. It's really keeping busy, but in a healthy way. This is a great time, especially when I deal with teens. This is a great time to read. It's also a great time to write. I can't tell you how cathartic it was for me to write my story down. And for people to write their own stories, to write poetry, to draw, to exercise, and just to do things. People are really finding out a lot about themselves now, some that they didn't want to know and some that they're very happy to know. But just to reflect, we don't have time during the old normal to really get to know ourselves and get to be alone and have some private time with our thoughts and to reflect. And this is a time for that. So that is, if any good can come out of such a horrible situation, that is certainly the good that can come from this.
If I could inject, I would agree with that, because even as a business person, I can say that was kind of how we looked at this. We said, okay, we've been put on hold. How are we going to do something positive with this and make things better? And we've actually found it somewhat to our advantage because it was forced.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? What are you going to do, right? So you got to take the high road on that.
I always tell people, if you have an opportunity, because of all the traveling, because of all the traveling I used to do, I would try if I can get through a book in a couple of months, because I can only get a chance to read when I was at the airport or maybe on a plane. I used to just like to pass out. But you're right. Getting in touch with oneself during this time when everything is closed and down, great time to reflect. Absolutely. I got no problem with that. As I'm sitting here reading, some of the questions that we put together, you're noted for your sense of humor. What do you attribute that to?
My mother had a great sense of humor, although I never heard her tell a joke. But just watching my parents laugh at Ed Sullivan at the Dean, don't want to date myself, at the Dean Martin roast and things like that, and Don Rickles and stuff like that, just, gave me entree into a sense of humor, and not comedy in that way, but just really being able to laugh at certain things. So, sarcastic, but in a very kind way. I mean, I'm known in classes, insulting back and forth, but always kind. I don't think I've ever, in 33 years as a teacher, when I used to teach, insulted anyone on purpose. So I find that, maybe it was a defense mechanism, certainly once I was diagnosed at age 16 or 17, because I was definitely clinically depressed for at least a year or two. That sense of humor really helped me. Although it was a defense mechanism, it makes other people feel at ease sometimes. So I kind of grew into that.
Yeah, and taking away, because I used humor as a defense mechanism. Well, I was always a big kid, and I can tear someone's head off, but I never wanted to be that person. The only time I used my anger was football or wrestling. That was my outstretch to go ahead and do that. How do you deal, and what do you tell kids, especially parents who bring their kids to you? How do you deal with test anxiety? How do you calm them down? And that, to me, is an important question, because we do have people that are always, I guess they're always concerned. Again, the smartest kids in the world. Is there any exercise that you can tell them to do that would actually bring their test anxiety down, or their anxieties that they may have other anxieties?
Well, you said something that very few hosts have asked me before. You've mentioned that even the kids who do really well. People think it's just students who are poor students. Not true at all. But the real thing is that test anxiety often exists because a student will study incorrectly for 4 or 5 hours. And they'll get nervous as they're studying, because they say to themselves, I'm studying for 5 hours. I know I'm not going to be able to recall this tomorrow. Another person who studies correctly for 90 minutes or uses certain study skills strategies correctly, their recall is different. They don't have that. They put the anxiety on themselves. So the first thing is to know that you're not alone, and that some anxiety or fear is good. It's good in life. It's good in education. But so many people, more people have test anxiety now than I've ever seen before in my over 3 decades teaching. So I would say that, first of all, breathing. It is scientifically proven that it's impossible to be nervous if your breathing is good. So deeper, not obvious when you're doing a test, everyone thinks you're having a heart attack, but breathing in slowly and deeply through the nose and out slowly through the mouth and getting yourself calm. But that's physiologically. You have to academically get rid of the anxiety by studying correctly and being able to recall the information and write it down or impart that information on a test to the teacher in a way that reflects how much work you did put in. And there's so many things, for example, very simple. Parents say, study for 2 hours, don't come out. I don't want anyone going to Harvard or going to a community college, wherever they're going. Don't study more than 20 or 30 minutes. Take a break. Don't take a break for 4 months and come back. Take a break for 5 minutes. But 5 minutes away from the study area. I want your brain to know I am not studying now. You go away from the study area. Learning does not take place when you first read something. It takes place when you review it. So when you come back after the first study break, you have to review what you studied just for 3 or 4 minutes. That's when you start to own information. So many people study wrong. I've taught people to take notes, a third of the notes they used to take, and they recall 90% better because they take fewer notes, so there's less to forget. It's all based on keywords, and unfortunately, in education, we teach to the test so much, we've lost sight of helping kids study correctly. And that's what, the Great Success Education part of my tutoring business is. But now my overcoming adversity, this is included in that presentation because a lot of people have adversity in the classroom because of what we're discussing now.
And it's a great point. I think, but however, in my opinion, I think people all different, study differently. I used to have, if I needed to remember a definition of something, I had to write it out, the actual definition in longhand, write it out. I just couldn't sit there and read it, go over it 3 or 4 times. I had to write it out. Once it was written, it was in my mind, and I was cool with that.
That's definitely a strategy.
Oh, and my daughter.
It's one I use too.
The same way.
I agree. Yeah, that's why I got to write it down.
Absolutely. Once you do that, I think you're in great shape. You talked about, because my daughter is graduating, she's becoming a teacher. Are there any stories that you can add as teachers that maybe influenced you to where you're at today, to become who you are today?
Sure. So there's several, at least 3 or 4, and you want it to be a bigger number because I've had so many teachers, but they didn't influence me, and I didn't learn so well because of the subject they taught, but how they taught it, and more importantly, the connection they made to kids. I have a classroom management, effective lesson delivery seminar that I give, professional development. You have to make that connection. You have to meet the kids at their reality. And these teachers, Fred Krell, Mr. Krell, my music teacher, and Mr. Waymeyer, social studies, these people who pop into my head, they delivered it in an interactive way, in a fun way, and most importantly, I was never scared to give the wrong answer in those classes. I was safe to fail, and that's what people hear the word fail. They oh my God, what do you mean? That's the F word. 4 letters, the whole thing. But you have to be safe to fail. There's physical safety and there's emotional safety, and I had that in those classes.
And it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I always told people that if you are taught in a humorous way, you'll never forget. There are things that I still remember, believe it or not, from elementary school that was taught to me by a couple of my teachers who were funny, were just naturally funny. Mrs. Warren, unbelievable. Mr. Sanfilippo, very, very funny through high school. Mr. Infranco. They would say certain things to me that was so funny, and it could have been the most mundane thing, but I never forgot what they were, because of that. And I always tell people, I don't care if you're on a football field, if you're on a wrestling mat, in athletics, or if you teach them in the school, in the classroom, you teach them with humor, they will learn and never forget. And that's
Absolutely.
One of the things. Yeah. I agree with that.
I do a study skills seminar that I call power memorization. And you just mentioned the reason they're your favorites is because of 3 letters, ACE. I call it ACE. Action, color, and exaggeration. And where the humor comes in is when they exaggerate something and the action they did when they did it. You may not know what you had for dinner 3 nights ago, but 2 of the funny things those teachers you just mentioned may have said to you 30, 40 years ago. And that's the magic of it. Absolutely.
I mean, it's really amazing. Where can people go to your website? Is there a website that you have? Is there any books that are out there that you may have right now? Sure.
So gradesuccess.com, and it's spelled behind me. Gradesuccess.com is the academic tutoring, SAT, ACT, and other tutoring site. And the books, those are on marchoberman.com, the way my name is spelled, marchoberman.com. And Adversity Defeated is on Amazon, Highly Effective Teaching Strategies, and some of the books that I've co-authored are there also. Proud to say that LaRue Press and Janice Hirschman is on here, is my newest publisher that's going to be re-releasing the book, we hope, in the fall. And it's so excited about that and thankful for her and her team for picking up that book.
Well, Marc,
I got a plug. How about that?
Yeah,
you got a plug. My God, you got a plug? Listen, it's called the Pinch of Basile show, not a pinch of Janice Hirschman. This is ridiculous.
Pay raise needed.
That's right.
Marc, I want to thank you so much for being on the show with us, and you are welcome anytime you want. I love talking about education, even though I'm not an educator. I like when people can learn from our guests, and I'm sure many have. Thanks so much for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back with some more words from our sponsor after these messages. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure. Thank you.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Oh, we are indeed back again. Thanks so much to Marc Hoberman, who was just on here. And what a great guest, wasn't he, Janice?
He is a great guest, yes.
Yes, I really dug him. Listen, you're listening to A Pinch of Basile. If you got some questions, we have people from Australia, people in the UK. We have people all over the place. Just call 844-790-8255. That's 844-790-8255. If you want to chime in, that includes our audience from Greek Beat Radio.
Greek Beats Radio. Beats Radio. Beats Radio. Beats Radio.
You always think you're going to catch him off guard. You'll never catch him off guard.
No, you never know. I mean, I'm almost try. It doesn't matter. But I'm so glad to be able to share that with you. I'm going back out there again. So it looks like June. I'm going to be. Wait.
So are these dates? I'm so curious. Are these dates firm? Are they like subject to changes?
Some of them are going to be subject to whatever state opens up. Now it looks like in Ohio. We're doing that show. It's rescheduled. It was supposed to be April, then we pushed it to May. So we've gone back to June 5th in Cleveland, Ohio, at the Cretan Party Center in Cleveland. Friday, June 5th. Doors open at 7 p.m., shows at 8 p.m. If you guys want to get seats for this show, call 216-452-8833. That's 216-452-8833. Call now for the tickets. Now, if there is something, if the pandemic hasn't closed everything down, but right now they're lifting everything. Here in North Carolina, May 8th, in just a few days, they're lifting just about everything.
Wow.
Now, every state is different.
Yes, we are.
What are they saying in Nevada? Janice?
They're doing some curbside right now, but as far as I recall, our governor hasn't given us any real definitives. Am I correct, Christian?
Yeah, we're in phase like 0.5 at this point. And
he's waiting for that 14-day decline, I think.
Yeah, which means nothing.
Well,
and
no.
He didn't say how many phases there were, so we could be, phase 1 of 99,
He's not sarcastic, not Christian.
Not our little Christian who we love. We love our little Christian. Okay, listen, folks.
With a name like Christian, how can he be anything but nice?
He is so sweet. I mean, you look at him and you just,
Yeah,
you just want to put him on an ice cream cone and eat them all up. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Anyway, I'm glad to be able to share everything with you, but it looks we got like a bunch of our events. Keep looking at our website at Basile Live, BASILE, LIVE.com. And a lot of you have been telling me that you've been having issues trying to order stuff from our website. We've been having some problems. It seems that there are 3 segments. The time you order goes through a thing called authorize.net. Authorize.net to the secondary process you got to go through. That goes to the credit cards. Then it goes to the bank that you're supposed. Well, there is an issue in that middle section. I got your complaints. I've had over 40 letters of complaints. So, folks, I know what you're going through. I'm sorry. But for this, we're cutting our prices for streaming. Streaming. That's right. You want to stream something? We got you. We got the whole thing down. So you can stream directly into your iPad. You can right into your computer, even into your phone. That's how sophisticated it's gotten. So we got that. Now, folks, I really want to go into this. We have some stories here.
Well, you're going to talk about the stories now.
Yeah. Oh. Don't you want to talk about the stories?
Sure. Let's talk about the stories.
Well, I would like you to tell the people about this Swedish city that is spreading a ton of chicken manure in a park to discourage people from gathering.
Right. Have you heard about there's a I think it was a park or a skate park, and I think it was in the Southern California area. And the kids were out there skating, and the city decided that they didn't want that anymore, and they filled it up. Didn't they fill it up with sand?
They did.
Yeah. And I was like, are you kidding me? There has to be a better way to stop them from doing that. Plus, why not be outside, right? We tell them get off their phones and don't do that anymore, and then they filled it up with sand. Can you believe that? Can you believe a city would do that?
It's one way to curtail any type of skateboarding.
Well,
and stuff
this
like that.
Swedish city is taking notes from them, right? So the authorities in Lund say 30,000 people have gathered in the Stadspark in recent years to celebrate the Spring Festival of Valborg. Most are students, but some travel to sorry, I lost my way. See, that's what you do, right?
Really? I do this? Okay.
Some travel to the southern city from different parts of the country. My mouse moved. Sweden's government has had a comparatively light touch approach to this whole pandemic, right? But the city's mayor confirmed that the muck spreading was going to go ahead. So what they did is they said a ton of manure would be spread on the ground to put a dampener on anyone thinking of turning up for Thursday's event. That's pretty unbelievable. Writing on Facebook, he said, sitting at Valborg in a park that stinks of chicken manure and where it makes noise with leaf blowing and other things is not a pleasant experience. On the other hand, it's good for the lawn, as chicken manure contains a lot of phosphorus and nitrogen, so that we have a really nice city park for the summer season.
I think that is a tremendous story. And to be quite honest with you folks, let's think about the green grass that will grow in that park.
And, that's a pretty crappy thing of them to do, pardon the pun. But with the California skate park, did you hear about what happened after they filled it with sand?
I did not.
So the skateboarders couldn't go there, but the dirt bikers came out in force.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
Did they really?
They did.
Wow.
Oh, that's an awesome story.
That's... Fight the power. That's all I'm going to say. Fight the power. Okay.
So Lund's Environmental Committee said it was a good opportunity to fertilize the lawn, but it may not be so nice to sit and drink a beer in the park. So they get to drink beers in the park at least. They can't do that here, right?
Unless you work for one of the chicken places.
Unless you're homeless.
Oh, there's more.
Unless you're homeless. If you're homeless, you have no barriers here in the city of Reno if you're homeless.
So you could sit anywhere you want if you're homeless?
They're walking around anywhere they want to go. I guess it's because that's their home, right? They're homeless, and that's their home, so I guess they get to go anywhere. I see a lot of them.
Is there like a little homeless city in Reno?
The Truckee River.
The Truckee River?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's lots of folks. When I drive home, on my right-hand side, just probably about a block and a half from my office, there's a little tent encampment, and they've been there a long time. I've complained, but nobody seems to care.
There's something about that. On a serious note, I've always felt sorry for people who are homeless because sometimes they have some psychological issues.
True, I agree with that.
That my heart goes out to them.
I agree. However, there is an organization here in town that has gone out and actually talked to these folks and offered them a job, a place to live. They would help them get a job and a place to live, but they had to be clean and sober. And out of 1,000 of them, I think 2 people took them up on it. There you go.
There's something about that kind of bothers me. That I think my wife and I have always discussed. There needs to be more money put into the mental health facilities to help some.
I agree with you, but how do you force somebody to take advantage? You can't. I mean, I've had really family members that at different times in life have had issues, and you can't make somebody go.
No,
you can't, and they're in the same boat there, But I do think that they should enforce the law, and like right now, the city of Reno's got a place for the homeless to stay, and they just don't go. But there's probably rules, so they prefer not to follow those rules, and I respect that as an American citizen. I respect their choice, but I also say they have to follow the law. So
I agree with you, and it's a very difficult situation.
It is all the way
around.
Yeah.
And there are people, and the only release that they truly have are either drugs, or alcohol, and they're not really thinking straight.
Agreed.
And I think if you clean them up, whatever, they probably have a larger number of people that would go to the facilities that are being offered to them by the city of Reno and to other cities.
Other cities are doing the same thing that Reno's doing. I know they are.
Yeah. And it's tough.
It is. It's a tough topic all the way around. And when you start to dig in, though, you start to learn some things about all the services that are available that they don't take advantage of, or that they do take advantage of because they know they can and don't help themselves. So, I think a little tough love is needed out there occasionally, and.
And again, you don't want to really crap on anyone's rights or whatever, but I agree with you. I agree with you.
We agree on something, Basil. Can you believe that?
We agree on a lot. You know that. Sick of you already.
Tired of me already.
Yeah, it's only been 2 years. I'm already sick of you.
Oh,
and the first time we met at 6:45 in the morning, where we had to discuss
7. It was 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I off 15 minutes? I'm so sorry.
That's right.
Coming down looking like hell after a night of partying over at the casino at the Silver Legacy.
Yeah, Maria can't wait to see you on June 5th in Cleveland, and has posted a hotline number for everybody. So there you go.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you guys call that number in Cleveland. I'm always happy to be there. It's I finished up my education there. I got a lot of family there, so again, it's a chance for me to kind of goof off with friends and family.
That'll be fun.
And absolutely. We'll go through some of these other stories afterwards. After these messages, we're going to be back in a little bit. We'll discuss more about me, because this show is all about me. That's the reason why they call it A Pinch of Basile.
God forbid we should talk about anything else.
I used to like you. I really did. And we'll discuss that in the next segment. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to do that sponsor thing. But we're going to be coming right back. So if you have any questions, post, give us a call. We'll be right back on A Pinch of Basile.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Oh, so glad you can come and join us on A Pinch of Basile. If you have any questions for me, just give us a call at 844-790-8255. You can also text us. Janice, what is that magical text number?
That number is 775-237-2266.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we've been going back and forth on some of these stories and whatnot, and then we got into a serious conversation about homelessness.
I know.
That wasn't even part of our stories and stuff like that. There's a couple of stories. A man bounces, Janice, and this is, you think that you heard it all with Corona. A man bounces 5 ping pong balls.
Oh, you're going to do that one. That's a good one.
2.3 seconds. Now, I know a lot of you don't see the importance in this. I do.
Of course you
do. When a man can bounce 5, not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1, 5 ping pong balls that have their own thought-controlled mind thing that they do whatever they want to do.
Do you play ping pong, Basil?
When 13. I was 13.
I bet he was really popular in college with beer pong.
Oh, you think?
Do you guys remember, speaking of beer games, okay, did you guys ever play a game called Hi Bob?
Not me.
Can't say I did.
Okay, all right, do you remember the Bob Newhart show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, every time someone would say, Hi Bob, everyone had to do a shot of beer.
Oh.
A shot.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to college in the years 2000 through 2004, so Bob Newhart was only in reruns at that point.
You still could have done Hi Bob.
You could have played it, all right? How about Tequila Checkers? Have you ever played Tequila Checkers?
Not I.
That I have played.
Okay. And how did we fare out?
Not so well.
Mm-hmm. Must be that attitude of yours, okay? Just saying. All righty then. Yeah, Hi Bob was a great game. If you have to watch, but you only do shots of beer, okay? Like a little shot. And all of a sudden, as soon as someone would say, Hi Bob, you just pop. You got to drink it. You would get so drunk off that, it was ridiculous. And then we used to have another thing called the baby bottle beer sucking contest. And you take a baby bottle, you fill it up with beer. You cut the nipple off the bottle a little bit, and you got to suck that beer down. And what happens is you're basically sucking all the alcohol first as it goes for some odd reason. That's just the way it works with beer. And you would get crocked off your ass on that. It was just a great drinking game. And we just played it the other day with some of the children at the church school that were at
church school.
Church school, the third and fourth graders. Those kids are just a bunch of wacky kids.
Did they drink you under the table?
Yes, they Okay. A man bounces 5 ping pong balls into
Back to the ping pong balls.
2.3 seconds. Is there, what else do we have on these stories?
Well, let's talk about him. David Rush, who has broken more than 100 Guinness records. That's a lot of records to break. Guinness records are not necessarily the easiest things in the world to do, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, is this something you really want to be known for?
Well, he did it to promote STEM education, so maybe.
All right, so you're promoting STEM education. I'm thinking brain STEM education?
I have no idea.
Or are we talking like the STEM of an
No,
apple?
STEM is stands for something. It's
like science, technology, engineering, and math, or something like that.
It's an acronym. Okay, right. It's an acronym.
Right.
Okay, so basically, okay, yeah, I suppose.
And see, he did the feat in 3.51 seconds, but then the record was taken from him. So there's no competition in this guy's blood, right?
Yeah, not at all.
So then he had to break the record again. So the other guy did it in 2.81 seconds. He was an Italian fella. I presume fella, Silvio as opposed to Silvia, right?
Silvio.
Yeah, there you go. You say it better than I. Who bounced the balls into the glasses in 2.81 seconds. So he did it in 2.03 seconds.
And, you know.
There you go. So so he does want to be known for that because he gets more money. Right?
What? You don't get money when you're in the book, do you?
No, from promoting STEM education. You know, he had either probably a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter or a something, right?
Yeah.
Give me something. That's the site. That's what the site should be called. Gimme.
And I guess there's an actual video that he shared right now as well. So I guess you guys can go to that, check that out, because I'd like to see how the hell he did it, to be quite honest.
Would you? Well, I'll post that to your website.
Yeah, post it, how this guy bounced at five.
Count them.
5 ping pong balls in 2.3 seconds.
Yeah, I like to play pool, so I was wondering what kind of record I could break playing pool.
Why do you even go? You know, I have. All right, so I'm not going to say a word. Anyway, the coronavirus.
I can tell you some good stories. Not
Suppliers
so much.
Suppliers of toilet paper. So this one's going in the crapper too. Okay. Along with obvious items such as hand sanitizers and other disinfectants. The rolls of tissue have been increasingly hard to find at local markets as people stock up to hunker down during the global pandemic. But please, for goodness sakes, don't panic if you run out. There are at least, let me see, earnest requests of the police departments in Newport, Oregon. It's hard to believe that we even have to post this. Do not call 911. Okay. Just because you ran out of toilet paper, the department told residents a reminder, last weekend, you will survive without our assistance. Did you ever call up information and ask them, hey, do you know where my other sock is?
I did not, but I've known folks who have done some funny things.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what I did. Because, you know, socks, to be quite honest with you, Janice, are very tricky. And, Christian, I don't know if you knew this or not. Socks always seem to disappear.
Oh,
you always have one unhappy sock.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
One. Always one. So what I did was, thinking, I think I got this solved, I would take a safety pin and safety pin the socks together. So this way, you'd never lose them. I thought I had it, done. And what happened was, the laundry was done, and then I threw everything in the, dryer. And when the dryer was done, I pulled out one sock with a safety pin attached to a note. The note said, nice try. See you later, love, sock. And, I was disappointed, to be quite honest with you. This is something that shouldn't have been done.
Well, and I've always attributed that to sock gnomes. I think they live in the dryer, and it's what they use for food. And
I like it. Sock gnomes.
Really? You laugh at sock gnomes, but me with a letter attached to a safety pin got nothing from you. I understand.
You got nothing.
Basil, I'm here all week.
I'm going to have to try that veal. Evidently, it's something special. That's all I'm going to say. What other thing did you guys? Did any of you have to do your laundry when you were a kid, or did your parents take care of it?
My mom pretty much did ours when I was a kid. I don't think she wanted us anywhere near. Well, there were 4 kids in our family, and I don't think she wanted any of us near the washer.
You know,
we had chores though.
My mother forced me to do laundry.
Oh,
forced me. So yeah, my football year when I was like in junior high, and I think my freshman year in high school, and then I got bucked up to varsity, and then never touched my clothes again after that. For laundry, but it was pretty crazy. I mean, yeah, my mom. To this day, no one can iron a shirt better than me. My mom forced me to learn how to iron and to do clothes and to separate the colors from the whites and how to use bleach and what to do the temperatures on. Yeah, I used to hang the clothes up in the spring and summer.
She was just trying to help you out there. So when you were a single guy, you could,
No, actually, I can relate. About the time I started playing football is about the time that my mom stopped doing my laundry altogether.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing
because I was a stinky boy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you were lucky enough to have a program where they had a laundry guy who handled all the laundry, and because they would stitch all of our numbers in our pants, our practice pants, our game pants, jerseys, whatever the case was. Cutties, the cutty shirts that you put underneath shoulder pads and whatnot. You usually have that, so it was pretty cool to
Hey, Basil, about your joke, I should tell you that Angie said it was good, Basil. So there you go.
Thank you, Angie. Maybe it should be the Basil and Angie show.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
The Janice part of the show will be played by Angie, who is somewhere in Australia, Melbourne. Okay.
She'll sound much better than me too. It'll be more interesting.
No one can sound as good as you. Because you don't want to laugh at my damn jokes. That's fine. But anyway, folks, listen. It's great to be back on A Pinch of Basile. Reminders: don't forget to listen every week on Tuesdays from 6 to 7 New York City time. We can be heard all around the world on americamatters.us. If you're using the TuneIn app, just search America Matters and be sure to keep it on as one of your favorites. Questions, comments? Go to Basil Fans, BASILEFANS on Facebook. Like me. Do it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Give me a call. And you can reach us at 844-790-8255 or text us at 775-360-0767.
Oh, no, let's try 237-2266. There you go.
We're out. Okay, listen, we got to get the hell out of here. You're listening to A Pinch of Basile.